A pilgrimage is an inner journey.
The expectation is to bring together people from three faiths who are open and eager to know the other.
I think faith is one of the best lenses through which you can really know people.
I thought that the trip would be a wonderful opportunity to expand my horizons.
I wanted to go to learn about my neighbors in Atlanta.
The main thing is for people to be able to concentrate on each other and get to know individuals as Muslims, Christians, or Jews, and in the process get to know more about the other's faith.
So what happens when you take persons from diverse religious backgrounds, social backgrounds, and ethnic backgrounds, put them in a foreign country, make them ride a bus quite a bit, make them room with persons they don't know, and have them talk intimately about themselves and their beliefs? You get a unique experience called World Pilgrims.
A pilgrimage is an inner journey. It's a journey where it's God-centered, where you're looking, not so much looking for God, but looking for the human potential that God has placed in each of us. And so you're going to your human center. And in these journeys that we take, you're also sharing that center with others who are on that same type of journey.
The expectation is to bring together leadership people from three faiths who are open and eager to know the other, to reach beyond their own specific faith, to be able to relate on a personal and on an intimate basis people from other faiths.
The major role of the leader was before the trip, in our meetings in Atlanta before going there, trying to convey the message that the best way to focus on this trip was not to bring any agenda, that we're going together to learn from each other, to spend meaningful time and a quality time together, and that if you were open enough to be able to go without any fears and leave your fears behind at home and just go in this pilgrimage knowing that you're in a safe place, you will be okay. There's no much a role of a leader, I guess, during the journey, because everybody in a way is a leader, and because the dynamic of the journey in which we all share our thoughts, our prayers, our experiences, make that we all share this leadership, if you want.
Really know that it's a pilgrimage, it's a faith pilgrimage. We're going to Turkey, but it's merely the backdrop. We're really going on an internal journey to get to know what do we believe as a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew. How do we talk who we are to people who have lots of questions?
I think what's so significant about the pilgrimage is that we live in a world now where there are so many misconceptions and myths about individuals as well as our religions. So the pilgrims, what we're attempting to do is break down many of the barriers that separate us in terms of the Islamic faith, the Christian faith, and the Jewish tradition. And the only way that we can do that is begin to talk to people and get to know them personally, and then understand the kinds of culture from which they come.
The pilgrimage ultimately is to answer the question, how do we live in a beloved community? How do we in Atlanta, who are this very diverse group of folk, no longer all Christian, no longer all white, no longer all white in charge even. How do we all relate? How do we live? We can't live too far apart from one another to be safe. That's not the alternative anymore. 9/11 proved that.
The main thing is for people to be able to concentrate on each other and get to know individuals as Muslims, Christians, or Jews, or what have you, as individuals, and in the process get to know more about the other's faith. And what really ends up happening is that they begin to reflect on their own faith and look deeper into their own beliefs.
I think the highlight of the pilgrimage was when I saw lights come on, spiritual lights, intellectual lights, personal lights within individuals' lives. When the aha, you are, I didn't know that. I had no idea that. When can we get together? Can we talk about that later on over dinner? Or certainly one of the tenets of our travels are changing roommates. And when you change roommates, I just believe that you get to know a person when you understand their snoring patterns, when you can talk about grandchildren and children and friends. And I think that's the highlight of the journey. It's one thing to visit the religious sites and the sacred places of worship, but it's another thing to understand what those religions mean to the individual. And when you can transcend those bounds, then those were the highlights in the trip for me.
A pilgrimage is not for everyone. You really have to be open, an open person, and you have to be strong in your own faith, to be able to open yourself to enjoy the experience of other paths in religion, in traditions. And so if you are open enough to be able to enjoy the tradition of the other, knowing that nobody's trying to convince you to stop being who you are, you will be extremely enriched by the experience.
I consider myself not so much a religious person as a spiritual person, and the pilgrimage just reaffirmed my faith in people, that we have differences, but like I said earlier, we're basically the same. And with the three Abrahamic faith, we all coming from that foundation that was there before. And if we could just build upon that, I feel that we can become better citizens of our communities, our city, state, and the world.
It really reaffirmed to me that we really are all one family and to not focus on the differences. To me, my faith breaks down into two things I try to do: love God and love my brother. And the difference I think that we have is that too many times we focus on the difference of how we love God, and that prevents us from loving our brother. So now I focus more on being sensitive to that. And if I'm in conversation, I hear somebody say something, I mean, it's now at the point where people say things and kind of look at me because they know I might speak up. But when I hear people say things that make assumptions about another group, in particular on religious issues, I'm likely to speak up.
I guess it was really Muslims that I was most curious about, that I felt like I knew the least about. And I felt, you know, we went to several mosques, and it was my first time going to a mosque, and sitting on the carpet and observing the prayer was beautiful, and I felt like I just felt like it was such a peaceful and beautiful religion.
I think the more people that do it, the more different people that go on the trip, the better. Because I hope then everybody gets that passion to want to share it with other people.
Thank you for taking this pilgrimage to Turkey with me and my new family. The World Pilgrims invite you to travel with them on a journey to a faraway land, on a journey to friendship, and on an inner journey that leads each person to become a part of creating the beloved community. I'm Angela Harrington Rice, and this has been World Pilgrims, a sacred journey to Turkey.